All right, so now we're really going to get down into the nitty-gritty of research, starting with searching the library catalog. Now, the library catalog is effectively the way you can search for anything that the library owns or has access to. It may not immediately provide the access to it, but it will tell you if we own a particular material. So it might be a book, an ebook, a government publication, a journal, a magazine, a newspaper. The library catalog tells you, do we own this? Do we have access to this somewhere? Now, again, the access might be somewhere else. So the first thing I want to show you is under week 9, there is an excellent research guide that another librarian, co-instructor April Shepard, has created about searching the library catalog. So I would suggest that you take a look at this to familiarize yourself with the library catalog, but I'm also going to demonstrate some searches in the library catalog right now. So to get to the library catalog on the library's homepage, it is right here, the second link, library catalog. And it defaults to the basic search. However, the basic search is less than ideal, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. Instead, I suggest that you start with the advanced search. Well, I'll explain it now. Essentially, the basic search defaults to an OR search. So let's take an example here. Just focus on the number for now. So if I just search for the single term cats, 1,531. If I add an additional term, like dogs, normally we would expect that to go down because between those two terms, or cats, dogs, is the understood Boolean operator and, right? Because I want stuff about cats and dogs. And what that would do is, as we add more and more terms, it would get narrower and narrower because we're requiring more and more terms to be present with an and search, right? So we had 1531, and it's done just the opposite. It's more than doubled. So what's going on here? Well, let's add another term. Let's just say, I don't know, mammals. Again, we would expect it to be even narrower, but it's gone up even further. What's happening is, in the basic search, when you just start searching and plugging in search terms, is it's actually defaulting to an OR search for some strange reason. Now, there is a workaround where you add a plus symbol and all this and that, but I don't ignore that. The easier solution to make it operate like a normal database does is to use the advanced search, where, so again, now when we do cats, dogs, and now it's going to do a correct and search, and you can see where it does that, it's saying all of these terms. What that means is it's putting and in between, which again is the default in the vast majority of databases. So that's kind of a strange thing about the library catalog. But the easy fix is simply to use the advanced search. All right. So now let's say I'm interested in animal intelligence. What do we have here? Well, we have a variety of things. Here's a film, right? This is an online film, Apology to Elephants. Here's an ebook, Biological Basis of Economic Behavior. Here's an actual physical book in the general collection. So this is a book if we wrote down the call number, and if you follow the Library of Congress classification tutorial here, you'll learn how that works. So we could write down the call number and then go and get this book. If we needed to know a bit more about the book, we can click the title and get the full bibliographic record. We can see the pretty blue bird, all that good stuff, the official subject terms, the notes from the back, the table of contents, so on and so forth. And then obviously if we actually want the book, the key is that it says checked out. We can, mess around with our search. We can maybe say animal intelligence or animal cognition. Cognition, of course, means like thinking, so it's maybe not a perfect synonym, but it's pretty close. Typically, when researchers talk about animal intelligence, they talk about animal cognition. We can restrict. So this, of course, is going to make our number of results go up. I think we had 172 before, and now we've got 241. And again, that's because we're using OR. Remember, OR, more, right? OR or is going to get you more results. With and, again, it's going to narrow your search down further and further. We can restrict to maybe a specific location. So maybe I just want ebooks, or maybe I just want physical books. So I might say, okay, give me the books in the general collection, the physical books. Obviously, anytime we add a limit, which is what we've done here, limits will lower the number of results that we got because we've limited it to, in this case, a specific location. What else about the library catalog? When you truncate, right, if you remember truncation, oops, go back to advanced search here. Typically, when you truncate a search term, you add an asterisk at the end, right? So here's a search for chimpanzee. Let's say chimpanzee behavior. Let me just use this example. If let's say I had a book out, I can't remember everything about it, except I need it again, and I remember that it had the words chimpanzee and behavior in the title. Well, when I do my search, this is the only book it found, the Pygmy Chimpanzee Evolutionary Biology and Behavior. Wrong book. So maybe it was chimpanzees, right? Maybe it was the plural. Well, typically you'd put an asterisk there, and then we'd get chimpanzee, chimpanzees. If there were a word chimpanzification, it would find that, so on and so forth. However, in the library catalog, again, strangely, you have to use a question mark to truncate. Normally, you wouldn't have to do that. And let's say maybe it wasn't behavior, maybe it was behavioral or behaviorism, or maybe it was a children's book, Behave Chimpanzee, or something like that. So I'll go ahead and truncate both of these so that I get all the variations on that word. And then I'm going to, again, do search specifically in the title. And so now I've got 7 results, and maybe I say, oh, this is the one, the Chimpanzees of the Budongo Forest, Ecology, Behavior, and Conservation. That was the book I had. That's the one I need to go get again. And the reason it found it this time is you'll see that behavior is spelled with the British spelling. So with the U, instead of just O-R, it's O-U-R. Like, you know, they spell things like color and humor and behavior with that added U, this inferior British spelling. The one last thing that's kind of odd about the library catalog is that it does not recognize quotation marks as a phrasal search. So instead, if you want to do a phrasal search, so again, in animal intelligence, quotation marks around it will not be recognized by the library catalog. So instead, you have to say, choose from the drop down and say as a phrase, and then it will find those two words right beside one another, which again is an excellent way to narrow down your search results. One other thing about the library catalog is that you can access your library account. You put in a 7 followed by your student ID number and then your last name. You'll see, I've got an overdue item. Oops. But it'll tell you everything that's checked out, when it's due. You can renew those books, provided they're not already overdue, and get them as an undergraduate for another 30 days. So again, you can access your library account from the library catalog as well. I'll bring this up real quick. This is just a list of the kind of idiosyncrasies, the little weird details in the library catalog that are specific to the catalog. And I mentioned all of these. Truncation doesn't recognize an asterisk. Instead, you use a question mark. The basic search does a weird or default, so instead use the advanced search. And then a phrasal search, quotation marks aren't recognized, so instead you use that drop-down menu and choose as a phrase. All right. That should do it for the library catalog.